The announcement was a long time coming, if you believe the rumor mill. The U.S. has officially accused Chinese telecom giant Huawei of a bevy of crimes.
A grand jury in New York has returned an indictment alleging 13 additional crimes committed by Huawei, its CFO, its affiliate in Iran, and one of its subsidiaries here in the United States. The criminal activity alleged in this indictment goes back at least 10 years and goes all the way to the top of the company.
The U.S. Justice Department accuses Huawei's top brass of using a Hong Kong-based shell company to funnel telecommunications equipment to Iran in violation of international sanctions. Investigators also accuse Huawei's engineers of stealing trade secrets from cell phone provider T-Mobile, including robotics plans used in T-Mobile's cell phone testing. The U.S. is also seeking the extradition of Huawei CFO Meng Wanzhou for her role in the alleged sanction violations. She was arrested in Canada late last year in connection with the U.S.'s investigation. Huawei has long been suspected of having close ties to the Chinese government, a cause for concern for some international observers. However, both the company and the Chinese government deny the accusations. Just as the foreign ministry said, with no evidence, they're using their state power to discredit and attack designated companies. This sort of behavior is unfair and immoral. The charges are likely to throw a fresh spanner in the works. Washington and Beijing are set to reopen talks over their simmering trade conflict later this week.
Well, Stephen Beardsley from DW Business has been following this story all along. Good morning, Steve. The U.S. indictment against Huawei, it has lots of parts to it. Break it down for us. What are the main allegations?
Right, so the main allegations here are some of them that we've already seen when Meng Wanzhou, the chief financial officer, was arrested. And they include trying to circumvent sanctions, U.S. sanctions against Iran, misleading banks as part of that, and then some new ones. And probably the most explosive one is that Huawei executives, including Meng Wanzhou, tried to cover up these efforts. And that could play into the effort to extradite her from Canada to the U.S. when these new charges come out, as well as her bail. And then, of course, there's trade secrets, as mentioned there. That was part of a civil suit, actually, between T-Mobile and Huawei, and now it's become part of the criminal charges. So some stuff we've seen and some new stuff based on internal emails and memos from what the indictments say.
The industrial espionage part I find really important, or interesting at least, colorful. The idea of certain Huawei employees apparently going into labs of T-Mobile and grabbing a robot arm, trying to take it or something.
Supposedly there was an incentive actually from the company, sort of a bonus program to see who could go the furthest with this.
Interesting. Very serious charges, though, when it gets down to it. What's the reaction from China?
The reaction from China is that this is part of a long-term effort by the U.S. to undermine Chinese companies. So they say that this is, I believe the term was unreasonable suppression of Chinese companies is what the U.S. is practicing. And obviously they would point to the correlation here between what the U.S. is trying to accomplish trade-wise, what it's trying to accomplish in terms of prohibiting Huawei from being active in the 5G market, which is something you and I were just talking about, a big part of Huawei's business in the future, and what the Department of Justice is doing. They see something that they're uneasy about or very angry about.
When you talk about 5G, just in case any of our viewers don't know what we're dealing with there, it's the new telecommunications standard that gives really fast internet on a mobile basis, and it could have huge implications. Everybody wants it. It being rolled out, where it's going to be rolled out, and by whom, there's a lot at stake there. What does this indictment mean for Huawei in business terms?
It's not good. I mean, this is further. This puts further pressure on nations who are considering who to go to for their rollout of 5G and how to build out those things. Because the U.S. has already had a pressure campaign on a lot of nations, especially its allies and other nations who may be in the middle, including Germany, who are still deciding where to deliver these contracts. So it's not good. And a lot of these nations, though, do want to see more evidence. And maybe with this and some of the other allegations that have been thrown around, including the arrest of executives in Poland, we'll start to see some of the evidence actually made public.
Timing here, very interesting. Briefly, if you can, what does this mean for the trade talks between China and U.S.?
I mean, you know, the trade delegation from China was either in midair on its way or had just landed when this came out. You can't imagine that that's a coincidence. And look at Meng Wanzhou's arrest. This was also after the 90-day truce in the trade dispute was announced. There's obviously, it seems that there's sort of this pressure game being played. Whether it leads to the results the U.S. wants, we'll see.
Stephen, thank you so much for now. Stephen Beardsley from DW Business.